Hey, TDF! I'm not going to overtake in a freaking blind corner. Oh, that was a couple of fresh underpants. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this POV review by AutoTopNL. My name is Max, and today we are driving the modern interpretation of a classic. It is the first new car after the reincarnation of the brand ALPINE, which is a French brand for those of you who don't know it. It is a French brand. It was started in 1955 by a Frenchman who wanted to build a small, light sports car to drive the Alpine roads in France. Hence the name ALPINE. It was then bought by Renault somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s, I believe, and then they made one other car, or a last car, the 610, and after that Renault pulled the plug. But it's back, and they have made it a sort of a retro Alpine with a lot of Renault parts, but it is a separate brand. It is a separate car. And it looks pretty freaking cool, if you ask me. I only saw it in pictures and I didn't really know what to think of it. But now that I see it in the flesh, it looks really cool. So I've got a picture here. So this is the old one. And that's the new one. So you can see that they sort of copied the light units in the bumper and also the sort of the profile of the car. So it is mid-engined. So the engine is right here underneath there. It's a 1.8 liter 4-cylinder turbo engine from the Renault Megane RS, but it has a different intake, a different exhaust, a different turbo, different mapping. So it really does have sort of its own thing, its own engine, or at least it has been tuned especially for this car. Delivers 252 horsepower and 320 newton meters. So the one we've got today is in Bleu Abyss, which is this beautiful dark blue color. We have the Legende version, which is sort of the legend version. So you have the pure, the legend, and the Premiere, I believe, the Premiere. This is sort of the more luxurious version, and the pure is more basic. So we have a lot of leather, we have adjustable seats, which you don't get in the pure, and that is because it saves 8 kilos if you go for the non-adjustable seats. And that sort of also gives away the entire premise of this car and the goal that they had for this car. They wanted to build a light sports car, and they sort of went with the Colin Chapman Lotus way of saying, well, if you don't have that much weight, you don't need that much power. If you don't need that much power, you can have a small engine. If you have, if you don't have that much power, you can go for narrower tires. You don't need big brakes. There are a lot of pros to this approach to a sports car. So what have they done? Well, they have done an insane amount to limit the amount of weight, but I will sort of highlight a couple. First, the entire chassis and the body is made from aluminium. It's 96% aluminium, which is super light, of course. The rear brakes, usually you have your electronic parking brake, you have an extra caliper on there. But they built it into the regular one, so that shaves another couple of kilos. And then they convinced Brembo to put their software in the Bosch ECU, so they didn't need a separate ECU for the parking brake and the braking stuff, which saves another kilo. So it's stuff like that. The seats, these seats weigh 13 kilos per piece. The ones, these are sabled seats. The ones in the Renault Megane RS and the Clio RS, the Recaros, are, I think, twice as heavy. So they they shaved a lot of weight from this car, and that means it only weighs just under 1100 kilos. So another retro thing are these wheels. This is an upgrade, so these are 18-inch Legend wheels, and they are super cool if you ask me. Very retro. We've got the high performance braking system as well, and some Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires, which are really good, very nice and sticky. All right, let's take a look at the front trunk. So I'm already going to list one of the drawbacks. This is half of your storage, and you can only put in 40 kilos. So this is not very big, and it is also quite shallow. I guess you can fit, I don't know, maybe like a duffel bag, something like that might fit, but it's not that much. It's about 100 liters. And we can also check out this one. There's some stuff in here, but this is another 96 liters. But it's also not that convenient a shape. I mean, you can stuff some thing in there, but it's not a big opening. And yeah, so you have 196 liters of luggage room. And let me see if we can find the release for the engine cover. No, I don't know if you can open it easily, but the engine is underneath there. I can't show you anything anyway. Very cool detail, these air intakes, these air scoops with the French flag on there as well. So it's the first time we have driven an Alpine, of course, because they haven't made one in a long time. But if you want to see some other cool videos, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to receive updates when we upload a new video. We did drive the competition though, so you could sort of compare this to a Porsche 718 Cayman or an Audi TT, maybe even a Lotus Elise or an Alfa 4C. But I think that this sort of combines the best of both worlds. I don't think it's as capable as a Porsche Cayman to drive every day, but it is better than a Lotus Elise or an Alfa 4C. So as I said, we've got the luxury version, so we have lovely brown leather with blue stitching everywhere. The leather is actually really soft, it's really good leather, and the seats are beautiful as well. We have these gorgeous door inlays that are color-coded. Another French flag. Another French flag. Beautiful stitching. We've got leather on the dash. We've got some beautiful switch gear. And this center sort of console is really beautiful, if you ask me. With leather, carbon fiber, it looks cool. We've got a little carbon fiber cover right there, more carbon fiber up there. We've got the gears for the gearbox right here, so it's a 7-speed Geartrack dual clutch gearbox, start stop button, and underneath there you can see 2 USB ports, an auxiliary and an SD, with one of the few places you can actually store stuff underneath here. And this is a bit wobbly, but it does look very cool. One big tip if you are interested in getting one of these. This is a €500 option, this little storage space, which does look really cool. But you really have to get this because there is no storage whatsoever. There's no glove compartment, there are no pockets in the doors. It's just this little space, and if you get this option, you get this stuff. And I think there's a little net, yeah, right there behind the passenger seat, and that's it. And you don't have a lot of storage to begin with at the front and the rear, so get this thing, it will help you a lot, I think. Other than that, we've got a beautiful steering wheel, all in leather, because we have the luxurious version with a drive selector on there, and a little bit of Renault switchgear like this. This knob is Renault, these buttons are Renault. This stupid thing is from Renault. This wart of a ugly thing. Yeah, and we've got an infotainment system that is not that great. These buttons are really small, and these ones are even smaller for the volume. And you can't really do that much with it. It's just for your radio and your navigation, basically. You can get some app on there to mirror your phone, but it doesn't work really well. So it's mainly there just for your emergency stuff. So if you really need your navigation on there and you don't have your phone, you can use it, and you use it for your radio. So we've got a digital instrument cluster as well back there, which changes if I change driving mode. So this is normal. If I hit sport, everything sharpens up, the throttle, the gearbox, the exhaust valves open because we have the active exhaust. And if you hold it, you press and hold it, it goes to track mode, which sharpens everything up even more, and it also turns off traction control. So we start it up, and we'll take it for a drive along this road. I'll do a draggy 0 to 100 test, and then we'll take it to the Autobahn. All right, go to sport. Drive, and let's see what this thing is like. So driving wise, they have done a lot. I'll just go to track mode, why not? They have done a lot to make this car handle as good as they could, and mainly the thing with this car is, because it's so light, it doesn't need stiff suspension. So it's actually quite comfortable. It doesn't have adaptive dampers. It's sprung one way. It is quite comfortably sprung. It's not that hard, but still it's so much fun to drive because you have that low weight that those springs and dampers don't have to compress that much because there's not that much weight. So you don't need super stiff suspension to get a well handling car. All right, we'll stop here. Draggy. All right, so it should do 4.5 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour, which is really quick. And it does have launch control. So if you are in track mode, you just stop, pull both pedals, launch control on. There we go. All right, that's 5 seconds flat. I was just testing to see what happens if you shift before the red line, because sometimes it's quicker that way. All right, launch control. There we go. See, that's actually slower. All right. We did manage to get something like 4.7 earlier, and I have no doubt that if you have perfect conditions, it will do 4.5 seconds. If you want one of these draggies, by the way, you can buy it in our store. Click up here. Works magnificent, and it is really cool to have. All right. So as I was saying earlier, the suspension is quite soft. It's quite comfortable. That means that if the road surface is not that great, it's still nice to drive. And that's because this car was developed purely for driving on like mountain roads, which don't always have the best surface. Oh, this gearbox is so good. So much better than in the Megane and the Clio. Okay, little sound. Oh. you have that engine right behind your head, so that intake sound is so nice. You get a little bit of exhaust burble, a little bit of popping on the overrun. It is beautifully judged, this car, in so many ways. It is just, hey, TDF. All right, now this is the big test for the Alpine. Oh no, I'm not going to overtake in a freaking blind corner. All right. By the way, you guys know how tall I am. Pretty insane, right? How I fit in this car. That's because the managing director of Alpine is also very tall, and he just made sure that he could fit in the car, which is pretty incredible that I fit in a car this small and this low, and yeah, they did a really good job on that. Why are you coming on and off? Stop it. All right, here we go. Oh, the sound. You get that turbo sound as well. So lovely. And it is getting pretty loud in here, of course, but I hope you can hear me. Because it has such comfortable suspension, stuff like this on the Autobahn is perfectly doable as well. It has double wishbone suspension. It has double wishbone suspension at the front and at the rear, which is quite a challenge because you need some space for that. You know, it's a small car. The petrol tank is also at the front, so that was quite tricky to get that in this car. But that does mean that it handles like a dream, both on like a B road as well as on the Autobahn. And it actually feels really fast. It actually is really fast. We did like a 12.5 second 100 to 200 run, which is really quick. Oh man. Of course, because it's so light, it is very susceptible to crosswinds and truck struts in the road. So you can use, oh, that one. Oh, if you get a crosswind, it goes like half a meter either way. But you can use that little storage space in the front for a couple of fresh underpants. The cool thing is, or the funny thing really, about this car is that it shares both the gearbox and the engine with the Renault Megane RS, which has 280 horsepower, but both the engine and the gearbox feel so much better in this car. Of course, it's also because of the weight, but the gearbox is just way quicker. Oh man, I love this car. It is so much fun. Oh, it feels so alive and lively without being, you know, intimidating. It's very nice. And it has a lot of grip. Oh, yes, come on. Man, I was not expecting this car to be this good. I'm going to tell you honestly, this car has surprised me in a big way. Oh, it's just so exciting and fun, and you. But the fact that this car is so light is the reason why everything works. It's the reason why this engine works. It's the reason why the brake pedal feel and the brakes themselves work so well, because they don't have that much weight to slow down. It just works. 257. Oh man, so exciting. So as I said, competition, Porsche 718 Cayman. That car, it weighs 300 kilos more than this car. 300 kilos. I mean, that's a lot. And it doesn't feel as alive as this car does. It does feel better, well, more well put together, and the gearbox is better. Of course, the PDK is probably the best gearbox out there. But I think that I actually prefer this engine to the Cayman engine. I think this is absolutely stunning. It's a wonderful setup, a wonderful drivetrain. The balance is insane. The grip is incredible. You can actually play around a little bit. If you lift mid-corner, that rear end will come up, will step aside, sort of. But as I said, it doesn't feel intimidating. It just feels like it wants to give you a good time. Without it being like dirty. It just wants to give you a good time. It wants to put a smile on your face. It's a very sympathetic car. It's very likable, and I think it's more likable than a Porsche Cayman, which is a little bit more serious, like an Audi TT, a little bit more serious. Alfa Romeo 4C, not a very good car. So oh, listen to that popping. It's quite loud. Are there any things I don't like about it? Well, I don't like the fact that the cruise control button is right here next to the parking brake, and the windows are here as well. So a mistake is very easily made, and you want to operate everything blindly, and it's just a little bit too close together, if you ask me. What else? Well, there is a lot of plastic in here. Everything you see is okay, but if you start scratching stuff like in the doors, this stuff, it's not that great. But you have to keep in mind that they built this car with the purpose of being super light. So if you see anything you don't really like material wise, that's probably because they use the lightest materials possible. Are there any other things I don't like? Well, not really actually. It just makes me feel happy and good, this car, especially because it surprised me so much. You actually have to push makes this car quite hard to get that tail out because it has just so much grip. Oh, I am a little bit in love. I want more cars to feel or to be this light, and especially with electric cars, you know, more and more electric cars are coming out, but they are super heavy because of all the batteries. So, you know, weight saving might just be more important than ever. And I think that more than anything, this car proves that this sort of this old way to approach a sports car is still valid, and it still works like a charm. More so than ever probably now, because of all the downsizing and because of, you know, the fact that this little 4-cylinder, it just has loads of character. It sounds great, it goes like hell, and well, I'm sorry guys, I'm actually quite surprised by how many good things I have to say about this car. But I'm going to end it here. I hope you enjoyed it. You can check out this POV review of a Porsche 718 Boxster, and you can check out this playlist of POV reviews. Don't forget to subscribe by hitting the big button right here, and you can follow us on social media. Just search for AutoTopNL. Bye guys.